The 2023 Oklahoma State football season should be all about sending a message. This message: all gas, no brakes, and we will leave no quarter.
You are Locked On Oklahoma State, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma State Cowboys. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Howdy, y'all, and hello, all. Welcome back to Locked On Oklahoma State, your daily stop for all things Cowboy and Cowgirl related. My name is Cody Stovall. I want to thank you very much for stopping by today to make this your first listen here on Locked On Oklahoma State. Of course, you can find us on every single podcasting platform, as well as visually on YouTube. You can find me on Twitter at AllDayOState. So let's hop into this. All gas, no brakes, leave no quarter, right? That is the message that I think needs to be sent this year. For those that are saying, what does no quarter mean? Most of you obviously probably get it, but it's in reference to the old wartime, like the Revolutionary War style of times. Even before that, whenever you took over an enemy, you could show them mercy, right? Allow them to still be able to sleep and eat and so on and so forth. Or you could kill every single person on site, regardless of what their job in the military was. If he was in uniform, he was dead. Leave no quarter, right? A good reference to the Patriot movie. If you haven't seen that movie, you got to see it. If you have seen it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. That's how it was. You could show mercy, but more often than not, they didn't. They gave no quarter. You cannot sleep here. You cannot eat here. Matter of fact, you can't even breathe here. So we're just going to cut that out for you. All right. But before we, hammer home on that, I love my interviews. All right. I do. I'm a fan. And Gundy had an interview after the first day of fall camp. And I think, it was pretty telling. Not necessarily the longest interview in the world, but you can still get a lot out of it. And one of the things that he brought up when the question was presented to him, you lost a lot in the transfer, you brought a lot in the transfer. What do you think so far? And he basically said that he felt like we went stride for stride for the most part. And he's right. Guys, I know everyone wants to continue to talk about the Spencer Sanders saga. Yes, Spencer Sanders is one of the top 3, top 4 greatest quarterbacks in Oklahoma State history. That won't change. It is what it is. But when you look at Alan Bowman and just his path to Stillwater, injuries are the name of the game. Where I think this is a little bit different for us is we have some confidence now in the backups, which was not the situation last year. Garrett Rangel was not ready to be thrust in that level of football. It just is what it is. Now, you also saw some of the bright spots from Garrett Rangel, and you saw what could potentially be. And you also saw a very vanilla offense, which we'll get to primarily in the last segment, right? But the stride for stride thing, yeah. Is Alan Bowman and Spencer Sanders a wash? No. Spencer Sanders is better until Alan Bowman shows what he could potentially possibly do live on the field. Okay, cool. That's fine. We lost Dom Richardson to Baylor. Is Elijah Collins better than Dom Richardson? Yeah. Is Ollie Gordon better than Dom Richardson? Yeah. Is Jaden Nixon better than Dom? Yes. Like, again, we love Dom, but he wasn't the guy. So we know what we have in the backfield for the most part. I know a lot of us haven't had the opportunity to see it all come together, but it looks good. Elijah Collins is having a Jalen Warren-esque summer. Will it show on the field? I'm sure. Will he get as many carries as Jalen Warren? Probably not, because of what we have right next to him. Matter of fact, I think you could argue the idea that Elijah is going to be part of the Thunder and Lightning package, and Ollie Gordon is the main man with the plan to get the ball more often than not, right? I think packaging and all that's going to matter too. But this is a power system. So we know for a fact that we got better at running back. Is that stride for stride? I think so. If not better. Let's go to wide receiver. Y'all know, I have a lot of love for Boogie Johnson. Me and his dad do work together. Do I think it's a loss? Yeah, absolutely I do. Now, if Arlen Bruce has any hand in this Iowa State betting on sports debacle, we'll find out. But even if he doesn't, right? If he doesn't have that, is Arlen Bruce a wash for Braylon Presley? 100%. Yes. Right? They're almost identical. Matter of fact, it's kind of ironic that Braylon left because of the running back situation, and Arlen Bruce might actually get some play out of the backfield, whether it be reverses or double reverses. He will get the ball. So is that a stride for stride? 100%, right? Is Jason Strickling as good as Boogie Johnson? I would say so. Seniority matters. He's been playing big boy college football for quite some time now, so he has a better understanding. Stephon Johnson Jr. was just going off of primarily athletic ability and his willingness to do whatever the coaches asked. Those were the two things that kind of put him center stage when we did have a couple of injuries, and we saw what he was able to do with it. So is Jason Strickling for Boogie Johnson a stride for stride? Yeah. Yeah, it is. Right? And, I think if you look at somebody like a John Paul Richardson, is that a big loss? Well, yes. Yes, it is. But we get Shetron back. We get Jaden Bray back. We get Rashad Owens back. These are guys that didn't get a lot of PT. Like Rashad Owens is a perfect example. We had to scoot him in and ask him to bulk up real quick, fast, and in a hurry to play that cowboy back style position. We did the same thing with Blaine Green. Then he got injured. We have Blaine Green back. So is any one of those guys I just listed stride for stride for John Paul Richardson? Yes. The answer is yes. And then if you want to go a step even further, I like what I see out of Leon Johnson III. I've given the Marcel Aitman comparison. I'm going to stand by that. Is he going to get as much PT as Marcel Aitman? Probably not, but he will be an asset. He will be a weapon, and we will be able to utilize him. Rashad Samples is gone. So when you look at the wide receiver room, is it stride for stride? Absolutely. Now, is there a hit to depth? Sure, we can make that argument. Okay? Look at the defensive side of the ball. We lost Jabbar Muhammad. Enter Kenneth Harris. Okay, cool. We know Ladarius Webb can go over there. So again, is this a stride for stride? Absolutely. Ladarius Webb Jr. is better than Jabbar Muhammad. Point blank period. I know he's going to be playing some safety, but I think that's another indication of what we know we have out of Cam Smith and Cameron Epps over at the cornerback spot opposite of Corey Black. We look good. Cornerback position is not going to be an issue. Safety position, not going to be an issue. This stride for stride thing. Okay, Mason Cobb, big loss. Is Justin Wright a stride for stride for Mason Cobb? Athletically, talent-wise, probably not. But is he going to be able to accomplish more? It's very possible. The simplification process is designed for somebody like a Justin Wright. So if you want to say that we went backwards at quarterback, fine. If you want to say we went backwards a little bit at linebacker, fine. But stop saying that there's a bunch of craziness happen. Let's look at the offensive line. Is Dalton Cooper better than Caleb Etienne? Yeah, that's why Caleb Etienne left. Is Jake Springfield going to be able to produce as much as Caleb Etienne did last year? Yeah, probably. Caleb Etienne allowed what, like 13 sacks, 12 sacks? Is Jake Springfield going to be able to stride for stride that? Yes, abso-freaking-lutely. Did we lose a couple guys to graduation on the defensive line? Yes. Brendan Evers being one of them. Brock Martin being one of them. Is Anthony Goodlow a good replacement for Brock Martin? Oh, my gosh. You understand. You get it. We're tracking. Yes, he is. Is Justin Kirkland a good replacement for Brendan Evers? Absolutely. When Gundy says we're going to stride for stride, I don't think this is Gundy trying to pump up the volume on the football team. I legitimately find this to be a reasonable and real answer from Mike Gundy. I really, really do. And so again, if you look at this season, I think it should be about just a handful of things, right? But more than anything, just give me that tenacity. Give me that toughness. Give me that I'm going to sock you in the throat, figuratively speaking, of course, or physically. I don't care, at the snap of the ball all the time. We've got the guys. When he says stride for stride, I think he's right. I don't think this is a crazy bold statement. He understands the portal now. He understands how it works, what it's supposed to do, and how it can be beneficial for you. So obviously we'll talk about the portal here in a brief moment. But real quick, before we do, ladies and gentlemen, I got to talk about LinkedIn. If we're going to sit here and talk about, the right guys and being in the portal, I don't know, you really want to make sure that you're getting the right candidate at the right time for the right price. So at LinkedIn Jobs, you can post your job right now for free. It is stressful going through the hiring process. It is difficult finding the right fit for your job, but there's a reason that small businesses call LinkedIn Jobs number one. Be a part of that reason. Go to linkedin.com/lockedon today to get yourself squared away with the new employees that you desire the most. It goes the other way too. If you're looking for a job, make sure that you get on LinkedIn as well, because they help you find your experience, your job better, faster, info free with your posting. If it's better than everybody else, you're probably going to get the best candidates that everybody else doesn't get. Do yourself a favor. Go to LinkedIn Jobs/LockedOn today. Again, that's LinkedIn.com/LockedOn, not LinkedInJobs.com. LinkedIn.com/LockedOn. Words are hard for me. I apologize. All right, so let's jump on over here to the portal guy. That is Mike Gundy. Now, the dichotomy is kind of interesting here. If you look at him and even somebody like a Dabo Sweeney, there's some coaches that were very publicly adamant that they did not like the transfer portal. You know, and you can't blame them. If you're an old school soul, and Gundy is an old school soul, then you want to see players come up. Right? It's natural. It's fine. You want to see players come up from being a freshman or a redshirt freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, that type of deal. You get a better feel for who that guy is as a young man. So whenever he and people like Dabo were talking about how opposed they were to the portal market, you got to reach back. Oklahoma State already was doing some portal action, primarily the cornerback position with people like Tyler Patman. But we'd had some success in that area, Christian Holmes being another one a little bit later on down the line. So it wasn't foreign to us that you're going to have to get a few portals, but there's a difference in getting a few portal players and having this big exodus type of situation that you hear all over the country. Now, we are in a unique position, I would say, post-spring. A lot of schools still had 10, 15, 20 guys leaving. We had, I think, one, and it was a backup offensive lineman. So, yeah, when Gundy says stride for stride, part of this is the portal game. He needs to come around in the portal game. Clearly, he has. We know that the staff, right? We've got to give kudos to the staff. There's guys out there like Coach Hammerschmidt, like Coach Duffy, like Coach Dickey, like Coach Richmond, like Coach Tracy Mullen even, and J.W. Walsh, that spend a lot of time sifting through, oh, well, that's nice. We could benefit by having that guy, right? Other teams film. Oh, you know what? That guy does some pretty special stuff. We'll keep an eye on him. Because of that, we had a really, really, really good transfer portal, right? We know on the day of signing, On 3 Sports had Oklahoma State #1 ranked transfer class in America. All of the publications had us top 7, top 6 best transfer classes in America. And a lot of that, 99% of that, was our coaching staff. So shout out to them. But you also get to give a shout out to Gundy. He's growing. He gets it. He's coming into the times. And so now he is a portal guy, not because he loves it, but it's a fact of life that nobody's going to avoid. So now, instead of being irritated by the portal, we can now use it as a weapon. I think this year will be the perfect case study for Oklahoma State fans and Mike Gundy to see what that looks like. Because again, the stride for stride day. Is Dazon Stribling going to produce? I believe so. Is Leon Johnson III going to be a good red zone target? I believe so. Are we going to see the emergence of Talon Shetron and the little glimpses we've got of Jaden Bray to its fullest capabilities? It's possible. As long as we handle everything with the right mentality, I'm okay. Like, you know, we talked about injuries yesterday, and I pinpointed segments in the season, the beginning of the season, that had nothing to do with injuries, that were easily verifiable. But when you do, let's talk about injuries, all right? If your starting quarterback goes down, starting running back goes down, starting center goes down, starting left tackle goes down, starting linebackers go down. Yeah, okay, if that starts happening, then we can have the conversation of a half-ace acceptable 7-8 win campaign. I'm okay with that. If we have that level of injury, then at least give me a bunch of fight. And I think some of these guys will. Some of these portal guys know this is their last hurrah. This is their last opportunity to put something on film that is productive and beneficial enough for the pro game. Benefit is you don't have all of the crazy, inexperienced youth. Just like Alan Bowman picked up the offense in a few weeks. Well, is he a savant? Is he a genius? Maybe. Or maybe in his, last 4 or 5 years of grading film and finding the different nuances between the Big Ten and the Big 12, I'm sure he can piece things together pretty easily. Right. And I'm sure it's probably cool for him to say, you know what? Well, we did this when I was at Texas Tech. This is a Big 12 air raid style of concept. But over here, I did this at Michigan. And in this scheme, that linebacker is null and void because of this tight end or because of this fullback that you don't have in the air raid system. So you have to do it, compartmentalized, right? You have to do in sections of the field. I really think this season's going to be a 10-win season. I got called crazy on Mark Rogers' show for saying that. I got called a homer. That's pretty normal. I understand that. And I'm okay with it because this industry, this job, to me, it's all about pulling receipts, right? Everyone talks about it. And maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'm drinking way too much of the Kool-Aid. Or maybe I'm right. Maybe this is a 10-11 win team all day, every day. Maybe this is a team that can have a shot to Arlington. By the way, if you don't follow me on Twitter, try to, because I've started the hashtag Stilly, the number 2, Arlington, Stilly to Arlington. I believe that is a possibility. Again, could I be too punch drunk in love with the orange Kool-Aid? It's possible. Could I be taking practice clips and making them feel like they're on this massive game scale? Yeah, possibly. Could I be taking highlight film and mixing it with what they did in high school compared to some of the practice clips and finding out? Or maybe, but maybe not. Maybe we're crazy. Whatever. I know that regardless of the level of crazy, 6.5 as the over-under is a preposterous number that everybody out there should laugh at. We're going to win more than 6.5 games. We could that situation I just talked about. Lose your starting quarterback, lose your starting running back, lose your starting center, lose your starting left tackle, lose your starting middle linebacker. We could do all that and still win 7 games, ladies and gentlemen. we've got enough talent. We have enough depth. Last year was about mismanagement, 130,000%. That's what it was. Was it mismanagement of the play clock? Maybe. Mismanagement of the playbook? Maybe. Mismanagement of the offensive skill set? Maybe. Mismanagement of the locker room? Maybe. Mismanagement of injuries? Maybe. You know what I mean? There's a long list that you could stack alongside injuries to give a justification for how last season went. But I'm saying this season's going to be different. It's just the mentality side of things. So we'll jump into the last segment here. As you can see that all gas, no brakes, give no quarter. As we already talked about, what give no quarter means is exactly that. You get no sympathy here. We're going to hang 100 on you and be okay with it. Now, whenever you're talking about, somebody like Central Arkansas, are we going to hang 100 on them in the first half? No, that's excessive. I'm okay with put the second, third string in, let them do their thing, let them get some film. But conference games, I don't care what the score is. I don't care what's happening. More Sonny Dykes. People want to talk crap about TCU. Oh, they could have lost this game. They should have lost this game without this last-second field goal, blah, 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 blah. Okay, and it was the aggressiveness that afforded them those opportunities. Can being overly aggressive turn around and bite you in the tuchus? Yes, it can. It can. But I would rather, I've said it before, I'll say it again, go out on my shield than spend your life on your knee appeasing people. No more appeasement. No more taking knees. No more punting unnecessarily. No more taking field goals unnecessarily. Go for it, right? If you look, I talked about in the TCU game some of the crap that went wrong, right? And if you look at the other sideline, you see something different. They're moving at a pace that dictated they were going to be able to take control of the game. And it, to me, started before halftime, right? They get the ball. There's only a few seconds left. What do most people do? What does Gundy do? Take a knee, right? Not worth any shenanigans. Sonny Dykes said, nah, we need more. Let's take these few seconds and go down and try to score. And they did. Kicked field goal. That's the stuff that took TCU, in my opinion, where they went. Their aggressiveness, their mentality of going to work, going to war, their identity, just like K-State's, you might beat us, but you're going to feel every flipping fracking second of this ballgame. Every position, every player on the field that's out here, we're going to keep hitting you in the mouth until you don't like it anymore. And it got done to us. K-State, that's exactly what happened. We got out physical, we got out worked, we got out coached, we got out hustled, we got outplayed. But it started pretty early on. This is the Les Miles style. We didn't have a crap ton of talent. We had some talented dudes, yes. We had several NFL dudes individually, but as a team, we weren't super great. And he knew that. So he brought a mentality, right? And the OU fans still to this day hate Les Miles. And that's only because he said what he wanted to say. He talked crap in Bedlam. He openly despised that game. He let his players know it. He let the other players know it. He let the other coaches know it. Everybody knew where Les Miles stood on Bedlam. And every other game. Like, we're going to come fight you. This will be a war. You might be better on paper. You might be deeper on paper. You're probably faster at almost all positions. But we're going to pile drive you into the ground every single opportunity we get. We're going to make you bleed and hate this game every opportunity we get. I'll take a 7-win season if you give me that. I don't think it's going to happen. I think if we stay remotely healthy, 11 wins is a possibility. 10 wins should be an expectation. Anything above that, obviously, yeah. You're playing with house money then. But it's the mentality that TCU and K-State carried that carried them through the season. We didn't have that mentality. It looks like we've got it back. And if you hear the interviews with Kasey Dunn and Mike Gundy, the best players are going to play. That's why that was such a breath of fresh air to hear. They're going to give everybody opportunities, but when they start releasing their too deep, the best players will play. It doesn't matter if you're a freshman, senior, transfer, been here forever. Now, Gundy traditionally doesn't do that. Gundy traditionally goes with the more seniority-laden fellows. So we'll see if it's a practical application or not. But at least in conversation right now, that's what's being talked about. That means in position meetings with coaches, that's what's being talked about. Now, where the seniority typically does lie is accountability, right? If you think a junior, a senior, they're not going to be on time. You're not going to have to worry about what they're doing, in their dorm rooms or off campus apartments or whatever. They're going to be diligent in their preparation for their body. They're going to be diligent in their extra film study that you have to do outside of the football facility. I understand that. And if that's a reasoning, all right. But there is guys that are underclassmen that do outperform older dudes. It happens every year. So if those guys can buckle down and grab the maturity side of things, they're fine. We're fine. This season could be a great one. And just like more growth from Gundy, part of his interview, he talked about how he made a joke about, this is the first time in a long time that, or he's only had to ask a couple kids' names. Right? As an O State fan, we've joked before about how he always refers to people by their numbers, even when they're juniors and seniors. And he always said it was just, I don't know everybody's name, so it is what it is. Well, that's not the same anymore. This is a different Gundy. This stuff that happened all throughout last year and the information in the offseason, it made him adjust. It's a fact. It made Kasey Dunn adjust. Should Kasey Dunn still have a job? Well, you could argue that. Maybe not as an OC, but he does. Should Charlie Dickey still be the O-line coach at OSU? No, he shouldn't statistically, but he is. I don't mind Gundy putting his back against the wall and saying, I ain't changing nothing. I got something to prove. I'm going to prove it. That's fine. But now you're in that prove it scenario, right? Now you've got to make that last shot again to prove it. So just do us a favor and go all gas with no brakes and leave no daggone quarter. And this season should be pretty magical. All righty. That's all we're going to have for this one right here. I love you. God bless. Go Pokes. And as always, thank you very much for tuning in today, because we all know that you could be at multiple spots. There's several Oklahoma State content creators out there, and I implore you to check them all out. But thank you for stopping by. All right. Later, taters.